Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again from the OREI team with an overview of the WUHD-165-RX wireless HDMI extension receiver. This product is an optional accessory that allows you to quickly expand your original OREI WUHD-165-K setup to include additional receivers, which means the content being distributed from that transmitter can be seen on multiple monitors at the same time, all of which are located 165 feet away from that original location. And that transmitter can support up to 4 of these receivers at the same time. The product fully supports 4K media content just like the original and is both HDMI 2.0 as well as HDCP 2.2 compliant, which means it's going to produce incredibly crystal clear results at those remote locations. Now, as part of this overview, I'd like to start with a quick unboxing just to show you all the components that are included with the kit. And then I'll take a closer look at the module and I'll explain the connections and indicators so you understand how to use it. I'll list the features and functions the product provides, and then I'll come back and do a quick demonstration to show you just how easy it'll be to add this to your original setup. So let's get started with the unboxing. When you first pop open the box, you'll find the module. You'll find 2 antennas that you can attach to these studs on the back. You'll want to point them straight up to get the best reception. And you'll find a single 5-volt 2-amp DC power supply. You can simply plug this into a wall outlet. The other end of the cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs into the back of the module and provides all the power you'll need for operation. Finally, a full instruction manual is also included that lists connection diagrams, specifications, and a lot of other really good information about the product that you'll need to understand in order to use it correctly. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at the module, I'll list the features and functions, and then I'll come back and do that short demonstration. The product features a full metal enclosure which makes it incredibly durable and a great choice for both residential and commercial installations. On either side of the cabinet, you'll find ventilation slots that are designed to let any heat that develops during operation escape to keep the electronics inside at a very comfortable temperature. On either side, you'll also find mounting holes that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount the module up off the ground and out of the way. On the front of the unit, starting on the left, you'll find a power indicator. When you add power to the module, it starts an internal power on self-test where it checks the electronics. It also checks the resolution of the monitor that's connected. And once it passes that test, it'll light that LED, letting you know it's ready to use. To the right of that is a Wi-Fi indicator. When you power up the module, it attempts to connect to the transmitter module over that Wi-Fi network, and once it makes that connection, it'll light this LED, letting you know it's ready to transfer content. To the right of that is a status indicator. Once you've made the Wi-Fi connection to the transmitter and content is being sent to this location, the status LED will come on. So under normal operation, all 3 of these should be on. To the right of that is a channel selector button. You can tap that button to change the channel that the receiver and the transmitter communicate over. On the rear of the module, you'll find 2 antenna studs. You can take the antennas that are included, finger tighten those on each of these studs and point them straight up for the best reception. On the left-hand side, you'll find an upgrade port. That's a micro USB port that's used for upgrading the firmware later on if needed. And to accomplish that, you'll connect this to your computer using a micro USB to USB-A cable. You'll move the firmware file over to the module to complete that upgrade. To the right of that is a full-sized HDMI port labeled HDMI out. And you can use this to connect the local monitor at that remote location, and always use a high-quality cable for that connection. To the right of that is a 3.5mm port labeled IR in, and that's used with the infrared blaster kit. Make sure you plug the correct module into this port. It's the module that actually collects up those remote control signals from that second location and then passes those back to the primary location over that wireless connection. And then finally, to the right of that is a DC input port, and that's used with the included power supply. You'll simply plug that power supply into a wall outlet. The other end of the cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs in right there and provides all the power you'll need for operation. The OREI WUHD-165-RX is compatible with most modern HDMI media sources, including game consoles, digital projectors, streaming devices, computer systems, and media players like Apple TV. The product's features include full support of 4K media content. It's a great choice for both commercial or residential operations. It's both HDMI 2.0 as well as HDCP 2.2 compliant. It provides 165 feet of extension between the primary and secondary locations and allows you to expand the original system to a total of 4 receivers. Now I'll show you just how easy it'll be to use this product with your own equipment. And for this demonstration, over here I've set up a small media player that's currently looping a video on this monitor, and that's the media content I'd like to share with my additional locations. Over here I've set up two monitors. These represent two different remote locations where I'd like to enjoy that content, and these can be up to 165 feet apart. In front of me, I have a single transmitter module and two receiver modules. The transmitter modules located wherever the media content is that I'd like to share, and the receiver modules are at each of the remote locations where I'd like to enjoy that content. Now the first set of connections I'll make are to the transmitter module, and I'll start by disconnecting the media device from the monitor and plugging that HDMI cable into the HDMI input port in the transmitter. And now we're ready to add power. I've already plugged in the power supply. The other end of that cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs directly into the DC input port in the back of the transmitter. And the minute I add power, the transmitter starts that internal power on self-test. It's also checking the resolution of my media device to make whatever adjustments are needed to send the best possible picture to the remote locations. Now, one really nice feature of this particular product is the local loopback functionality, which allows me to continue to enjoy the content here while I'm simultaneously sharing it with my remote locations. And to use that feature, you'll need an additional HDMI cable, and you'll plug one end of that into the HDMI output port in the back of the transmitter, and the other end of that into a local monitor that you'd like to use to enjoy that content. Now, the minute I add the monitor to the transmitter, it's checking the resolution of that. It's trying to find the best resolution to give you the best possible picture here locally, and that takes a second or two to make that adjustment. And there you go. So now you're viewing content at the primary side that you want to share with your remote locations. So we can connect up one of these monitors at site 1. I've already plugged an HDMI cable into the monitor. The other end of this plugs into the HDMI output port on one of the receivers, and I'll add power. Now when I add power to the receiver, the same thing happens. It starts that internal power on self-test. Once it passes that, it'll try to handshake with the transmitter, and it'll start transmitting media content between the two locations. That takes a second or two because the resolution of your media content might be different than the resolution of the monitor at that remote location. So again, the transmitter and receiver handshake and make that adjustment. And there you go. Now the advantage to this system is that a single transmitter can send the same media content to 4 receivers at the same time. So I've already got one monitor connected. The other unit, the RX unit, allows me to add up to 3 additional receivers so I can have that content displayed on multiple monitors at the same time. And to add a receiver, all you'll need to do is have another monitor and another power supply plugged in. I've already connected the top monitor to this HDMI cable, and I'll plug that into the HDMI output port on the second receiver, and I'll add power. Now again, when I do this, the transmitter has to handshake with that second receiver, so it's going to take a second or two for it to pass its power on self-test. It has to handshake with the transmitter. It's going to start sending media content to this receiver, and you'll see the image come up on that top monitor. And the nice thing about this is that these can be up to 165 feet away from the primary location. So it's great if you have to broadcast the same content to multiple monitors in an office setting, or maybe you're at a trade show and you've got media content running on a local monitor that you want to broadcast to other monitors on the show floor. And there you go. So what you're viewing here is content from the primary side that's been converted into a signal that's being sent over that wireless connection to multiple receivers that then convert it back into a signal that can be displayed in an HDMI monitor. And it really is just that simple to get it working. I hope you found this overview of the OREI WUHD-165-RX wireless HDMI extension receiver helpful. This product provides an incredibly easy way for you to further extend the original installation of the OREI WUHD-165-K to include additional remote locations, because the transmitter from that original kit can support up to 4 receivers at the same time, which means you can distribute the same content to 4 remote locations up to 165 feet away from that original location at the same time. And all you have to do is simply plug it in, it'll make a connection over the same Wi-Fi network and start distributing the content. The product fully supports 4K media content, just like the original, and is both HDMI 2.0 as well as HDCP 2.2 compliant, so you know you're going to get a perfectly crystal clear picture at that second location. Everything you need to get started is included with the kit, and with a few simple connections, you can be up and running in no time. So until next time, thanks again for watching.